Hello and welcome to Specialist Lending Solutions TV. I'm Shakina Tilhena, Commercial Editor at Mortgage Solutions and Specialist Lending Solutions. Today I'm joined by Robert Oliver, Director of Sales at Castle Trust Bank, Damian Cain, Director at Complete FS, and Dak Lamb, Senior Associate at Sirius Property Finance. Thank you for joining me. Moving from the mainstream market or from the soft complex space to the more tricky specialist lending space can be tricky for even the most experienced brokers. So Dak, for brokers coming from other specialist areas or from mainstream, what tools, resources or previous knowledge can they rely on to help them when packaging cases?
They need to be speaking to the right people, and the right people are, in my opinion, the packagers and the people who sit between the specialist banks and them. You can speak to the banks themselves, but sometimes the banks can be hard to speak to the right person, whereas you do find with the packagers, such as Complete and with Brightstar, they do know the right people. Also, as an individual, you are going to get a very small percentage of holiday lets in a year. You might have 500 clients and 2 of them might be interested. Whereas with us as packagers, a lot of those inquiries do come to us. And you find that with the more inquiries, the more knowledge the individuals and the consultants will have. Also, as a broker, it gives you the opportunity, if you get a good packager who you like, you trust and gets the job done, then you've got the opportunity to then move to the next case, or you can help the client with the life cover they may need, the buildings insurance they may need. You can still sit in between and keep yourself involved in the case, which is great, because as a broker, I think you need to maintain that relationship, but then you can rely on the packager to look after the finance aspect and get the job done.
And Damian, in your opinion, what resources do brokers tend to already have at their fingertips or close to them that they can rely on if they want to package a case correctly for holiday let?
Well, if a broker is well experienced in the buy-to-let market, it's not a huge leap to transfer those skills over to a holiday let, but there are some specific technical differences. The resources, obviously the online resources, such as Knowledge Bank, 27 Tech, Iris, will list the rates, etc., and we'll list packages rates. But as Dak said, I mean, my advice would always be to use an expert. And the truth of it is that the larger packages around, such as ourselves and Brightstar, we have teams of inquiries, people who deal with these cases every single day. To them, it's just normal. It's ABC. They know what they're doing. They know the criteria inside out, and that maximises, I think, the chances of securing a successful mortgage offer, and certainly eliminates the silly mistakes.
And Robert, in your opinion, is there anything that a broker can do or anywhere they can turn to help themselves with the holiday let packaging?
I think for me, it's understanding what a lender would need. And I agree entirely with both Phil and Dak. I have a very simple philosophy in life, which is let the plumbers do the plumbing. So these guys are experts in that field. You might not be an expert. However, from a lender's perspective, all we want a transaction to come in and complete as soon as possible with the least amount of touch points, because none of us actually get paid any money and the client can't purchase their property until the place completes. So on the basis of that, what we don't want to be doing as a lender is continue going back to the broker for more information. So we're an intermediated only lender, so we don't deal with the consumers directly. We only come through brokers. And I think brokers are used to dealing with buy-to-let transactions, having done it for a number of years. But of course, when they started doing that, they were quite nervous. I think the holiday lets is in a very early stage of development. Therefore, my advice would be, we're going to assess it as a lender around sustainability and plausibility. We're going to look at the profile of the applicant. So that doesn't change. However, the submission and the quality of submission and the way it's presented to us, we would certainly recommend and endorse as a lender speaking to specialists and experts in that field, because they will certainly help you present the case in the right way, so we can expedite it to completion as quick as we can, and then the customer can get their property as quick as they can.
And Robert, so of course you will deal with the more experienced intermediaries and packagers. When a case does come your way, what are the signs that it is something you'll be willing to lend on, and also what are the signs it's something you won't be willing to lend on?
The simple point for me would be, if you're a mortgage broker and you understand what a lender wants, and it is around sustainability and plausibility of the application. But fundamentally, if you're sat there as a broker looking at a case, the question's always got to be asked, would you lend your own money? Now, the answer is no, you wouldn't, which could be in certain circumstances. You've got to ask yourself the question, okay, so what would the lender want to see to enable us to lend the money? If you would lend your own money, then obviously it's an easy transaction. Now, the difficulty is when you're into a new part of the market, sometimes brokers don't fully understand what a lender will require. Well, ultimately, from our perspective, we're looking at the asset. So what's the asset quality? Where is it located? You know, if you're trying to build yourself a holiday let property and you're trying to sell it as a holiday let property, if it's in the middle of an industrial part of a town, it isn't going to work. So the due diligence on that property, we're going to do it as a lender. So you as the broker probably need to have a little look yourself. You know, if you're overlooking a car park in the middle of a town, you're probably not going to get a young family going on holiday there for a week. So I think the asset's important. Look at the quality of profile of your applicants. You know, at the moment, the inquiries we're seeing are more linked to people who are reasonably experienced in the investment market. However, that isn't to say that first-time landlords or we see expats and foreign nationals coming in who want to invest in the UK. But look at the quality and the profile of the applicant. Then look at the supply and demand of that particular property in that location, and look at who your target audience is. So I think do that work before it comes to a lender, because we're going to do it as a lender. So the last thing we want to do is take a case in, we spend half a day looking at it to turn around and say, no, it doesn't work because of A, B, and C. Actually, as a broker, do that research before you get there.
And Damian, obviously you'll be receiving these cases in a slightly rawer form than what a lender would be. So what would be your tips, and what do you look for when a case comes your way, and how do you know that it is ready to be packaged and sent off to a lender?
There's not an awful amount of difference between a buy-to-let and a holiday let. A lot of the things are very similar, and our experienced introducers would know what to give us for that. The one additional piece of information that does regularly seem to be missed is an understanding of what the holiday let income is. So my advice would be, if you have a holiday let application, make sure that you do some background work with a local agent, a local ILA agent, who will be able to give you some advice on what the likely yield on that property is going to be among the three seasons: the low season, the mid-season, and the high season. Armed with those figures, the rest of the information is very similar to a buy-to-let case, and we should be able to place it quite accurately.
And Dak, in your experience, what information tends to be missing from any cases that come your way that make you think you have to send it back for more, and what can brokers do to stop that from happening?
I work for Sirius now, but also work for Brightstar, we're sister companies. So I've seen it from slightly two aspects: one direct with the client, one direct with the brokers, and I still work with a lot of brokers. But first of all, and I think Damian would agree, we would almost never send a case back to a broker. We try and work with the brokers. And when you do deal with a package case, I will often say to the brokers at the start, you're not dealing with the Halifax or Nationwide, and you're not going to get your offer in 5 or 6 days. There is going to be a lot of work and a lot of questions, but you're in good hands. We've got a good lender. So I think it's just the understanding that more questions will come up than what you're kind of used to, which I think brokers are understanding with, but they find it hard to not understand, but they find it a little bit hard at the beginning of the relationship to get used to that fact, because they're used to seeing a client, getting one P60, one pay slip, one bank statement, sending it off, valuation 2 days, and the offer produces itself. But the brokers who do work with us over a period of time, and the relationships that we built up, have been brilliant. And those brokers do understand that when a case comes to us, it's going to be a slightly more difficult transaction, but because the success rates are high, they're happy to help us along the way, help them, and ultimately help their client with what they need to achieve.
Thank you very much. And that is all we have time for. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for joining us. And I hope you have a good rest of the day.